Welcome back to Proxy, everybody, and today we're going to be talking about this insane nerf to Mordaka. So I know that all over YouTube there's a bunch of noise about this detachment being nerfed and how it's basically been brought from being the best in the game to perhaps one of the worst with the stroke of a pen. So I'm going to say a few things right off the bat. I think that obviously Mordaka was too strong. We all know that. The numbers proved it. It looked super strong on paper, and it was actually insanely strong in the game. However, there were ways to play around it because, it's orcs. Pure and simple. It's orcs. They're going to put a lot of damage into you, especially really good players are going to find ways to, kind of exploit your weaknesses. But against certain armies, it just wasn't that good. Eldar had a really good matchup against them. There was a couple of other factions that had really good matchups against them. It couldn't kill everything. Let's just put it that way. It killed a lot of stuff for the points, but there were certainly some weaknesses that it had. Having said that, the win rate was so high that, and the grand tournament victories were so high that it was obviously going to get nerfed. And it was going to be needed to be brought into line faster than the normal 3 months. Okay, so why am I talking about Mordaka? This is an Eldar channel. Well, I think this shows us a sneak peek into GW's nerfing strategy going forward. So I think we can fully expect pretty hefty nerfs to detachments that overperform. And this one was just brought out quicker than usual, but I actually think they went too far with this one. I think they went way too far. And we're going to talk about why I think that's a bad strategy from GW. And it's actually a little bit unethical. And GW has done some unethical things with their games, just anti-consumer, right? In the past, and certainly in 10th edition they've done this as well, but to a lesser extent than in the past. And for those who want to argue about that, I will mention that I have been playing this game for 20 plus years. So I have been part of some of the most unethical decisions GW has made. So they've done worse things, don't get me wrong. But this is pretty bad. So basically they nerfed Mordaka Daka, and their kind of explanation about this is the recent performance levels are way too powerful. Whether it's high levels or low levels of competition, they're just way too good. That's true, right? So this is what they did, right? So let's actually go to the detachment real quick and look at it, because this is insane how they nerfed this. So let's go ahead and zoom in here and let's just dive right into this. Let's wait until this. There we go. All right. So they used to just get sustained hits too. That was their thing. That was their detachment rule. They got sustained hits too, 4 ranged weapons, and it was pretty much all orc units, I believe. Now it's just orcs, infantry, and walker models. And instead of having sustained hits too, they changed it to assault. So right off the bat, that's a huge nerf, right? They're changing sustained hits 2 for the entire game to assault, and not even everything gets it, just infantry and walkers. So that's already a huge nerf. But during the war turn, ranged weapons now just have sustained hits 1, and it's just orcs, infantry, and orcs, walkers. So they halved the damage. But not only that, they halved it, and they made it only available for 1 turn a game that they get this. This is this is absolutely nuts. So this is one of those really insane nerfs that I think was way too hard. I've spoken about this occasionally on the channel of what I would have done if I was kind of in charge of this, and it wouldn't have been this. It just would have been simply, instead of sustained hits 2 for the entire game, certain units just get sustained hits 1. I think that would have been a fine nerf if they reduced sustained hits 2 to sustained hits 1. And during the war turn, they have assault. I think that would have been fine as far as a nerf. It gets rid of a lot of the damage, but it doesn't completely nerf it, right? Because, guys, I mean, orcs have been wanting a good shooting detachment for so long. And they deserve it. They deserve it. Orcs deserve to have a detachment that's better at shooting than your normal orc army. They do. And they haven't had one in 10th edition. I mean, Tactical Brigade is fine for that, I guess. But it's just not the same. It's just not that great. Right? I mean, Tactical Brigade is good, don't get me wrong. It's really good, but it's not like the old days of like just tons of dice getting thrown around the board, right? So that's really crappy. I think that's honestly just sad. I think it's just sad. So why did I say this was unethical? Because they made the detachment way too good in the beginning, and then they've basically pulled the rug out under everybody after all the, kind of people were buying into it. And that's why I think it's unethical, because Ludas, you can't find Ludas anywhere. You can't find, what are they called? Tank Bustas. You can't find any of the units that were really good in this detachment because it was so powerful. And then GW decides, actually, we're not even going to give you the 3 months. We're just going to rug pull it right now. I think that is super unethical to do to your community, right? You have these established rules, and then you make a detachment that's way too strong. And let's be honest, the guys that are doing the balance, like, they're not stupid. Okay, the last few balance patches have been relatively good. There's been a few instances of like huge rug pulls from armies, but those armies at least got their due day, right? They at least got their 3 months before they got nerfed. And in some cases, like in the Sisters of Battle case, Sisters of Battle were really good for not even just 3 months, but for a year, I would say, that when they got buffed the first time. They got 3 months of play. They got a couple of point nerfs here and there, but it wasn't enough to like, make them uncompetitive or whatever. They were still a really strong army. Then 3 months after that, that's when they got the big rug pull. And I think it was Bringers of the Flame Detachment or whatever it was. They got nerfed hard. And their army rule got nerfed hard, the Miracle Dice. But they've now brought them back, right? They've unnerfed a lot of the sister stuff at this point. So they got their due. So even though that was like kind of crappy, it was like, well, they got a good amount of time to play their detachments and their army before they got nerfed. And they're still good, by the way. Sisters, after the recent changes, are still good. Nothing wrong with them. Still a strong army. This detachment, I don't think you ever play this detachment now with these new rules. And it's not even, it's DACA, but it's not even DACA. There's no DACA here, right? There is absolutely no DACA here. It is just bad. There's tons of detachments in the game that give you sustained hits 1, but for like the entire game, right? Or they give it to you for like 3 turns, like Tau, right? I think it's Cao Yan detachment gives you sustained hits 1 for 3 turns on more types of units. This just gives you sustained hits 1 for 1 turn. I think that's so bad. So that was a huge mega nerf that they didn't deserve, to be honest. Even though they were winning all those games, I don't think this was deserved. And let's look at the other nerfs, because it wasn't just this. So the other nerf, where is it? It is, yes, long uncontrolled bursts was nerfed. Now it's just 1 unit, so it's not as many units as possible. So beforehand, you targeted a character with it, and then you basically picked an enemy unit within 18 inches, and I think they had to be visible too of the character. And everything in your army ignores cover against that unit. Now, that was kind of insane. Your whole army ignoring cover against something was insane. However, there's other armies that have that. It's, like, for example, Eldar, we have Shroud Runners. We can shoot something, and then our whole army can ignore cover against it. So it wasn't that out of the, it wasn't that insane. It was good. It was solid, but wasn't super insane. And now, it's only 1 unit that gets ignores cover. But, I mean, if I'm being honest, there's a lot of factions in the game that have stratagems that give you ignores cover and something else. Like Yunari, they have ignores cover and lethal hits. Seer Council, they have ignores cover and critical wounds do -1 AP, additional AP, right? So there's, I just don't think that was even needed, to be honest. I think they could have easily just changed that. And instead of, maybe your whole army doesn't get it, but maybe one orc unit gets ignores cover and something else, right? Maybe it gets ignores cover and -1 AP on their attacks if they're within half range of their weapons, for example. So yeah, I don't like that nerf. I didn't think it was necessary. I would say though that this one, Get Stuck In Lads, is good, right? They upped it to 2 CP. This was the one which counted an orc unit as being in the wall. I think 2 CP for that is fair. Being able to do it for 1 CP basically every single turn is insane. And it needed to get nerfed. But there's a caveat to this. Guess what is worse now? The detachment bonus, which was giving people assault, and it was always giving you sustained hits too. Now the army's only getting sustained hits 1 when in the wall turn. So it still sucks for 2 CP because the detachment rule changed. And it's good on things like Mega Knobs. It's good on things that are going to have a bonus during the wall turn. But guess what? You also can't use it on Gretchen units. So no more Zogrod. So the Zogrod combo is out of the window. Which, again, that's fine. That's something that may be just fair. But I think they hit this too hard. Honestly. Way too hard. And I think the unethical part of it is that GW made a bunch of money putting this detachment out there. They made tons of money. Tons of sales on units that weren't really being purchased. Ludas. Who was buying Ludas? I don't know. Maybe like somebody would buy some Ludas if they were running the... Can't remember what the detachment's called for the works, but it's like the mech detachment, mech boy detachment, whatever that's called, with the Killick hands and everything like that. Like maybe they ran a couple squads of Ludas, but that's about it. Like no one was really running Ludas. So that just kind of sucks, right? Like everybody who just bought 30 Ludas for this detachment is shit out of luck. And some people will laugh and say, oh, they deserved it. Honestly, unless you are a jerk, right? Unless you are a just horrible person to play against, I don't think we should be making fun of people who were excited to play shooting orcs, right? Like, yeah, it was too strong, but I think this went way overboard to the point where it's not even worth playing anymore, right? Like, Ludas would be better in Tactical Brigade now over this, I think. So, yeah, that's not cool. A lot of people bought Tank Bustas, 3 squads of Tank Bustas. They're out of luck. Tank Bustas are a really cool new kit. Shit out of luck there, you know? A lot of people bought Flash Kits. Great. Flash Kits are now worse in this detachment than they were before. That kind of sucks as well. So yeah, this kind of sucks. I'm not even an orc player, and I think this is bullshit. So yeah, this kind of made me a little upset when I saw how big the nerfs were. It's easy to laugh at something like this and be like, oh, serves you right for trying to meta chase and everything like that. But there's a lot of players who just play orcs that just had the army already and maybe purchased a couple of extra units to play this detachment. And guess what? Now they're not even going to get to use it, right? So I think that's unfortunate. And basically, this kicks orcs back down to probably what Warhost, or what is it called? Warhorde? Something like that. The main detachment of the orcs is probably the better detachment to use in general now. Or Green Tide or Bully Boys or something like that, right? I think Bully Boys. I haven't seen anybody I haven't seen anybody play Bully Boys in a while, but I don't know. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just not competitive anymore. But yeah, just kind of unfortunate, to be honest. Kind of unfortunate for this detachment that all this happened. And it's now basically competitively dead. I don't see anybody playing this competitively now. It's really sad. Now, back to the Eldar thing. I think this gives us a lot of insight into what GW might do to the Ynnari, for example. Now, keep in mind, they did not nerf a single unit. They just nerfed the detachment. So my kind of thinking about this is when the 3 months comes around, I think June is when it's going to be, right? Around then. We're going to see Lethal Intent get really hit hard. I think probably based on what I see here from more Daka Daka, unless the community speaks out and says, hey, you guys nerfed orcs way too hard. This is not okay. We do not accept this. We do not accept this, you know, these highs and lows that you're giving us. You're giving us this OP army all of a sudden. You're kind of wrecking the game a little bit competitively when you do that. You're not doing your research on these attachments that you're throwing out there. And then all of a sudden the attachment, oh, big surprise, it's way too powerful. And then you turn around and you go, oh, actually, we're just going to nerf the crap out of it and make it just absolutely useless. You know, when you have the highs and lows like that, I think that's really unethical to do as a company who has promised to be more in tune with the balance of the game. That's just not cool, right? So, absolute big ass L on GW for this. And yeah, I think Lethal Intent's probably, if they keep with the same mentality, I think Lethal Intent gets nerfed hard. I think it becomes like, from being one of the best detachment rules in the game as far as mobility goes, to being perhaps one of the most like meaningless, right? Like if they change when it happens. So this is what they can do, guys. They can limit the movement, and they can make it to, like, let's say they make it a 7-inch move. And then it's a 7-inch move, but only right after a unit is destroyed, not at the end of the shooting phase. That's still good, but it's not, it's much worse than before. Much worse, much more meaningless, right? Like it's a little bit okay, but it's still okay, but it's not as powerful game wide, right? They could easily do that. On top of that, they can nerf a few of the stratagems as well while they're at it, because as we know, they don't just like stopping at nerfing the detachment rule. They may actually just flat out go after some of the stratagems as well. And there's a big possibility, I don't mean to like cause fear or anything like that, but if you guys are trying to get into like Ynnari for super competitive tryhard reasons, like you want to perform well at a high level with Eldar, please, please, please don't hedge your bets on Ynnari, because they're going to get nerfed in a couple months. Like by the time you're done, like getting all the models, painting them, building them and everything like that, you may play them in like 1 or 2 like small events. Maybe if you're lucky, you can catch a GT, and then, right, they're going to nerf it. And I guarantee you, after they nerf it, there's going to be something that's probably stronger competitively in the Eldar. And you're, you know, I mean, what do you do from there? I guess you could transition to something else, right? But there's going to be units and stuff like that that you wasted money on that are going to be sitting on a shelf, because Ynnari, as we know, has unique units, right? There's units that you will never use in other detachments, like Incubi. You will never use those in other detachments. So if you are playing Ynnari, play them because they're fucking cool. Do not play them because they are really strong, right? So that's my just flat out advice to the Eldar community. Like I was listening to quite a few content creators talking about Daka Daka because I was really curious, because there's a guy in our group who plays orcs, and I was like, is this something I have to really watch out for if we play a game? And he decided smartly, right? He was smart about it. He decided he was not going to play this detachment because it was just going to get nerfed. And his logic was, what is the point of buying 30 Ludas and 30 Flash Kits? You know, I already have like a squad of each, but what's the point of buying 20 more of each thing just so that it gets nerfed later and I can't use those guys anymore? I'm never going to use them. That is a big brain right there, right? What's the point? And there was a lot of competitive content creators that I heard, you know, yeah, I just picked up 30 Ludas, insta-buy from GW. Oh, saw the detachment, 30 Ludas, purchased. 30, you know, Flash Kits, purchased, or 20 or whatever it is that was in their list. Yeah, like, that sucks. People did that, you know? People just went out and bought the whole army. And some people were rewarded with tournament victories, but some people weren't. So now there's just a bunch of Ludas. I guarantee you, look at eBay right now, guys. You can probably get some cheap Ludas, some cheap Flash Kits on eBay right now over the next couple weeks, guys. If you guys are Orcs players and you really want a squad of Flash Kits, It's just silly. I think it's from a competitive standpoint very silly. I'm very disappointed. I think it doesn't bode well for the Unari because they're one of the top performers, by the way. If you guys don't know, which you should by now, but the top performing faction is Unari just by the numbers. They are the best Eldari competitive faction at the moment at high levels. I won't say it me because they're a hard army to run, right? So like, yeah, at the lower levels they're not the most competitive. It becomes it's Unari and then it's Aspect Host because some players are just not willing to fork over all the money needed to play the Unari as they are meant to be played and as they're designed. So, but that's fine because when they get nerfed, which will happen, you won't have wasted money on the Incarn and Yvrain and the Vizark and all the models that you need for that type of list, right? So yeah, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. For people who already had the models, that's great. You already have them in your collection. No big deal. You can still play them for fun afterward or whatever. That's fine. But it just, for those people that are like kind of like chasing Puff the Magic Dragon of competitive play, you guys, if you know, you know. Yeah, that's really unfortunate. So I'm going to say the same thing everybody else has said, but to the Eldar community. If you don't already have a Yunari army that you plan to play probably forever, because they're just really cool, which by the way, I don't think the Yunari should get erased. I love the Yunari. I think they're really awesome. But don't play them for the competitiveness of it. Like, don't just get into them to be competitive, and then when they get nerfed, what do you got? And then just sell your army and play something else, right? Like, really be in it for the long haul if you're a Yunari fan. But yeah, that's where I'm sitting at. That's my advice to the Eldar community. Don't rush out and buy a bunch of Yunari stuff just for them to get nerfed. Wait until the nerfs happen and then adjust accordingly. They're still probably going to be good. They're just not going to be where they are now. That's just basically what it is. I think that the nerf by the way, I think that the nerf to the orcs, the Daka Daka detachment, by the way, probably will kind of raise the Eldari win rate a little bit. Not like a ton, because I honestly don't think that Daka Daka was a counter to orcs, or sorry, a counter to Eldar at all. I think Eldar can beat orcs because we're so fast. We don't really care about losing units. Like, if we lose a unit, it's like, well, we're going to lose that anyway to probably some like incidental big shoot-a-fire anyway, so who cares, right? Like, if you deal 5 wounds or you deal 30 wounds, it doesn't matter because I have just a unit of 5 aspect warriors that just killed your, tank buster squad, and that's it. Like, I'm not expecting this unit to live anyway. So whatever. So yeah, Eldar, Dark Eldar, those armies honestly I don't think have too much trouble with more Daka Daka. It was more of the, more tough factions that were having a lot of issues. Space Marines. Oh god, Space Marine players with Daka Daka were just complaining so much. And I think that's probably one of the main reasons for the, massively over the top nerf here, because they were really good into Space Marine stuff. Like, into Space Marine profiles, they were just absolutely wrecking a lot of it. So, yeah, and, against other stuff like Imperial Guard, they were really good at killing and stuff like that. So, they were definitely good into more factions. Just, I don't think they were good into Eldar necessarily. All right, anyway, that's it for today's video. I just wanted to kind of go into that really quick because it was really frustrating when I saw this morning on my way to work. I was like, no way they nerfed it that hard. And yes, they in fact did nerf it that hard. Just kind of sucks, because orcs are one of those kind of cool factions. I think orcs are needed in the game. You need a faction like orcs in the game. And the fact that the whole faction sucks at shooting is really unique, but like, there should also be a detachment that like makes them good at shooting. There was a better way to do this. There was a better way to change Daka Daka Daka, right? Like, for example, if you just allowed orc, because what do orc players like to do? They like to roll a ton of dice. So just let them roll a ton of dice. Just add more shots to it. Instead of giving them sustained hits 1 where they're not rolling more dice, they're just auto hitting, just give them more dice to work with. Like, maybe instead of having assault, you have +2 attacks on all of your ranged weapons, right? On all of your, guns. Like, if it, I don't know, something like that. I know that's probably, people are probably like, oh, that's super OP with tank busters or whatever. But I don't know. You could balance it out so that different units had different number of shots. Simple, right? Lower strength weapons get more shots. Higher strength weapons get one shot, right? So you could say something like, weapons with strength 8 or above get one additional shot. Weapons lower than strength 8 get 3 additional shots or 2 additional shots or whatever. There's a way to balance that. So yeah, that's my spiel about that. But anyway, thanks for watching. I'm going to have some more videos coming out soon, maybe some list building videos. I think I'm also going to do some, aspect focus videos. I want to cover Dark Reapers. I want to cover striking scorpions. So yeah, so I think those are the next units on my list. So we'll talk about those in future videos. But anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you to all my patrons and supporters that have supported the channel over the last couple years. You've really helped out and helped the channel improve significantly. And if you are a patron and you have, supported the channel, reach out to me and I will give you some advice. I will help you on Tabletop Simulator for some, army building stuff, positioning stuff. Reach out to me because I feel like, a lot of people are patrons. They donate to the channel and they, don't really ask anything of me. And, definitely reach out for sure. If you are interested in joining, I'll leave the link in the description for that Patreon. And, obviously I'd really appreciate your support. If not, though, you can still get access to our Discord for free by signing up for a free trial on Patreon. And lastly, I do have a channel store page with all sorts of Eldar inspired apparel if you want to rep your local game store. And I also have an Amazon affiliate link as well that helps support the channel too. All right, guys, have a good one. I'll see you guys next time and peace out.